In the latest act of religious repression, Nicaragua's dictatorship has banned the ordination of priests and deacons in 4 dioceses, worsening the country's shortage of priests. The dioceses are led by 4 bishops exiled for criticizing the regime of President Daniel Ortega and his wife and co-president Rosario Murillo. While ordinations are still permitted in 5 other dioceses, the ban makes it difficult to replace priests who have been banished, expelled, or have died. 7 out of 10 of the priests in the city of Matagalpa have been exiled or banished. For years, the dictatorship has intensified its persecution of the Catholic Church, expelling all religious sisters, severely restricting processions, and even monitoring parish priests. Joining us now from Miami, Florida, is Father Marcos Somarriba, who fled Nicaragua as a teenager during the Sandinista Revolution and was granted public asylum in the United States. He's today a Catholic priest in the Archdiocese of Miami and serves as pastor at St. Agatha Catholic Church, which has become a spiritual hub for the growing Nicaraguan diaspora in the Miami area. Father, thank you so much for joining us. First, what is your reaction when you heard that priestly ordinations are now banned in your native country of Nicaragua?
It is really sickening. I think it's an invasion of privacy and also like a violation totally of religious freedom. And because just to say to a diocese, you cannot ordain deacons to priesthood, especially in the 4 dioceses that there is no bishop. So they want to become the bishops. They want to select it, but they cannot ordain them. But it's a way like to oppress them. It's a way to keep them like under their foot, the boot, I will say. And I think it's very, very abusive on that aspect. And I think the world should know. And I'm here like with your help and all that to make them aware of this reality.
Yeah.
It seems like you're living in China, that you have to approve bishops and stuff like that. In Central America, a Catholic people, Catholic nation, and it's very sickening. And I had a few notes, of things that I was thinking this morning early, and I think is the government is a deeply concerned is a deeply concerning development, both for a religious freedom perspective and in terms of its broader implication of human rights too. The Catholic Church historically been a vocal advocate of social justice. They always defended the people. They always served the people. And bottom line, we are not politicians. We're not another party, that wants to run in the elections. We elected the people of God, which is our entrusted to us in the church.
And
in Nicaragua.
Yeah. And Father,
Nicaragua is one bad example of how the government infringe into the religious freedom.
And this is just the latest instance of persecution against Catholics there. Can you tell us more about what is the reality that Catholics face in Nicaragua today? How severe is the persecution against the church?
I think they are imposing by the arms and the oppression and the persecution as silence. Faith, silent faith, I will say. And they are like you can do whatever you want in the temple, within the temple, but you cannot talk about political prisoners, people in jail, exiled people. You cannot use the word liberty or freedom, democracy, because they're like watching the priests. They're like videotaping them with the phones. There's like people from the government attending mass, like checking them out in their homilies, and then they call them out to the police station. And not only that, they have people assigned from the government and the police that are going after the priests, checking them out. Like, where are you going? Are you going to another town? Why you didn't let me know? And what are you going to preach this weekend? I want to see your homily. So it's really, really, really like it's really chaotic in that aspect.
And Father, can you explain to us, why is the Ortega regime threatened by the Catholic Church?
Because they're afraid that where we talk and we speak is human rights, and they want to step on human rights. They are afraid of all speaking of freedom, of faith, because the church is the only entity that is calling out all these injustices, denouncing, as is our duty as prophets, to denounce any injustice to the people. This began in 2018,
Mm.
like more than normal.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very sad, because they killed a lot of young people who
Mm.
were protesting, and they went after them in the middle of the night, and they pulled them out of their homes and they disappeared them. They burned them, and there is like a human rights information of all these young people. I have a lot of young people that come here to my parish
Mm.
that were in the protest, like doing on the streets, and they had to run away of the country because they were like, either this is the theme that they have:
Mm.
either you're with us, because if you're against us, you're dead, or you leave the country.
Wow. Father, would you like to see the Trump administration take any specific action against the Ortega regime? Would you like to see something similar to what we saw in Venezuela, for example, with the capture of Nicolas Maduro?
Well, that's not my call to do and to suggest to the government to invade Nicaragua and to pull them out. But I think if they act in human rights, because what these people are committing is crimes of lesa humanidad. That is like a really, really, like, that doesn't expire. And I think the government, Marco Rubio,
Mm-hmm.
and also like Mr. Trump, the President Trump, are aware of this threat to
Mm-hmm.
United States.
Mm-hmm.
First of all,
Mm-hmm.
it's a threat to our society
Mm.
because they have been the carousel or the means by which a lot of, like, terrorists and people, criminal people that went through Nicaragua. I remember like knowing situations like they will arrive to the airport, they will take them in taxis to the borderline to Honduras, and they will release them there. And some of the people, they get passports, Nicaraguan passport, like Venezuela did.
Mm.
And so we don't know who is here that is a terrorist. I'm afraid there are like sleeping cells in the
Wow.
country.
Wow.
So, and you talk about it. Nicaragua is friends with Khomeini. I mean, he's dead now.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and with Iran,
Mm-hmm.
looking always for support and money from Russia. They have a lot of Russians there, like the Venezuelans had Cubans in there.
Mm.
So everything is like, either you are with us, either you shut up, you be quiet, don't raise any issues about human rights or liberty or freedom, because we are the only one. And they use the Christian language, to
Mm.
say that they are like a peaceful nation, loving nation, that God is blessing them and all that. And that is really, really, really an offense.
Mm. We have less than a minute left, Father, but I did just want to ask you your sense of how Pope Leo XIV is responding to the persecution of the church in Nicaragua. I understand he had a message to exiled Nicaraguan Bishop Silvio Baez, who now celebrates Mass at your parish.
Well, he said, you need to go back and celebrate Mass there, and you need to, like, speak up your heart and your mind. Your name and your last name is an antibody to their system. So keep denouncing, keep fighting for immigrants, and keep defending them, and be a voice for your people.
Mm.
And that's what we do.
Well, Father, thank you for being a voice with us this week. God bless you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. God bless you.